So, as the lead off tonight, we are going to learn about the Lenape tribal nation, one of the oldest indigenous groups in this area, with the history dating back at least 8,000 years. Ty and his wife Leah, Watching Sparrow Gould, are members of the Manchwood Grove organization, along with Eric, and has helped extend this invitation to them to speak to us tonight about how members of the Nanticoke Nation are actively working to pursue their history and culture. Please join me in welcoming Ty Dancing Wolf Ellis and his entire family as he shares ongoing efforts to heal their ancestral lands, Lenape Hoking, and to ensure that their culture continues.
It's okay to clap if I want to. Some of you seemed reluctant to clap. I heard a little one back there. Kolomasi Hutchdale, I went to Cat Ni Nanticoke, Ok Lenape, Ok Taino. My name is Ty Dancing Wolf Ellis. I'm a citizen of the Nanticoke Lenape tribal nation based out of South Jersey. We're one of 3 state-recognized tribes. I do apologize for my dress down. It's been quite a day. So we have our button-ups and ribbon shirts and ribbon skirts, but today we decided we're just gonna be a little lazy and just come, in our casual clothes, so please forgive us. What I'm going to do is going to talk a little bit about what we do. I'm the president and founder of the Lenape Hoking Reestablishment Project. For those that don't know, Lenape Hoking is the land that we live on now, translate roughly to the land of the Lenape, and as you will see actually. So Lenape Hoking is all of New Jersey, so we're about here somewhere, but all of New Jersey, parts of Delaware, parts of Pennsylvania, and parts of New York. We're actually, our tribe, the Nanticoke Lenape, we are actually a marriage of 2 tribes. So the Lenape, which of course, based out of Lenape Hoking, and then the Delaware and Maryland is where the Nanticoke come from. So if you look at the map here, right along the Delaware Bay, there was a lot of travel between Jersey and Delaware, what's now known as Jersey and Delaware, and we share territory with the Nanticoke here. Well, Lenape shared territory with the Nanticoke at that point. So today, actually in this century, because our families are so intertwined, you can't really tell our history without telling the Nanticoke's history, this part of our territory. So we are a marriage of the 2 tribes. I know more of the history of the Lenape side than I do the Nanticoke, so that is what I'm going to speak on. So more about our home tribe, the Nanticoke Lenape. We're based out of the Cumberland County. For those who know it, I mean, that's not far from here. So, I mean, I think it's a county or two over. I've been so used to going to Ocean County and up in North Jersey now, so it's like, oh, it's all the way down in South Jersey. And you know that people in North Jersey think that there's a Central Jersey? It's kind of crazy. There's only two. But based out of Bristol, New Jersey, this is actually our headquarters here on the main strip of downtown, East Commerce Street. We call it Turtle Trading Post, is actually active today. That's where we have a couple of things on display in the window here. That's our headquarters where we do business. But on the other end, we have the other end of Cumberland County, we have in Fairton, New Jersey, we have about 26 acres of land where we practice our ceremonies. We have our spiritual circle back there. We have our meeting building, which is this right here. And we are also working on a museum. So the shell of that museum is up now. It's called a Chimwit of the Nanticoke Lenape, which loosely translates to storyteller or good storytellers of the Lenape. Hopefully we're breaking ground within the next couple of months, and hopefully it'll be prepared by next summer for you to hopefully come and visit us. We're currently managed by a council of 9. They're all elected members, 10 if you consider our youth council liaison, which is my oldest son. He's not here because he's in college. How dare he? This is our current chief here, Chief Yuri Foxbarrow Ridgeway, and then we have executive members at large, currently in an unoccupied position, but I think my face will look pretty good right there, right? The Nanticoke, our sister community, based out of Delaware, they're also thriving. They just had their powwow. Anybody been to a powwow before? A couple of you, yeah. Theirs was this past weekend. Unfortunately, it rained out on Sunday, so we got to go and sing our songs, but that was about it. I mean, some of them danced in the rain and they came back a little sick. Don't make a face. Yeah. So they're working. This is their community building now, but they're working on expanding it some, so they're thriving and they're doing good in their own communities. I will try to breeze through because I know that most of what this presentation has is not kind of what our focus is, but the focuses are within the presentation, and I will be willing to answer any questions at the end of it. This is me. This is my wife. I'm sorry, unfortunately, she could not come, and it was a last-minute decision. You know how high schools are, they give you dates of things very last minute, so it's back to school night, so she's handling that while I'm handling this, and she's just now getting out of it, so I don't think she's going to make it here. But that's my partner in crime, the youngest daughter of former Chief Mark Gould, our oldest son, Braden, and of course 3 of them over there, and our New York representative, Michaela. And the people that kind of have started what we represent now, I don't think I actually focused. No, actually, I'll wait because that's coming. I'm sorry. This man here, that's Chief Mark Quiet Hawk Gould. Most of you have probably seen his face. If you Google Nanticoke Lenape, chances are you're going to see that face. And this is my third mom, her mom, their grandmother, Grammy, who unfortunately passed away in 2023. But a lot of what we built, Lenape Hook and Reestablishment project actually was something that her and I started back in 2014, I think, when we started a strategic planning committee for our community. And we just took it off from there because we had a lot of the same goals. So a lot of what we do today is because of her. This one here is my mommy. She passed away in 2002. And then my grandmother, who used to be one of our lead genealogists that helped us get our state recognition in the first place, Lorraine, Rainbow Walker Gregg. You got something to say?
I was named after his grandma.
Okay, she said what she said. All right. People and partners, I won't talk too much about that or that. But what I will talk about is how we're thriving now. I know part of what we're supposed to talk about today is talking about the balance that Indigenous youth have to have in order to survive in this society. Unfortunately, a lot of what we live in today is not accommodating to our way of life, and it's not really ever been. It's getting better, it's progressive. You now see a lot of our representation, proper representation on, in media, music, TV shows, movies, so on and so forth. The Lily Gladstones, the aim was never to be at the top, but just for a little, Indigenous child to look at the screen and see themselves on it. But then we also have issues such as, a normal child's life is school, after school, sports. We definitely do sports. I've got 4 kids, and every single one of them is in a sport, and it's a lot. But it's also that on top of our responsibilities as Indigenous people. This world isn't tailored for them to have that freedom and flexibility to go back and forth between both worlds. For example, we have a coming up ceremony I can't talk too much about, but it is a 12-night long ceremony where it starts at sundown, and then it can end at 10, it can end at 12, it can end at 2 in the morning on school nights. Which means our kids, they go to school smelling like smoke. Maybe they're tired, maybe they didn't get their homework done. And fortunately for us, we're in a school system that has completely embraced our culture, our kids, and kind of, what comes with that, morning processes, learning their names, things like that. But there are a lot more school systems around us where our children are in that don't. They aren't accommodating to those needs. So I try to write letters to a lot of the schools or the coaches and saying, please, be lenient on them when it comes to deadlines, when it comes to missing practices, because this is a really important time for us. And we feel as though the youth should not be choosing one or the other, because they're a student, they're a kid, but they're also Lenape or Nanticoke or Taino or Upper Mattaponi. They are both of these things. There should not be a line drawn in between. So that's a lot of what we try to raise awareness for. I probably jumped the gun a little bit, nothing to do with this, but that is why we do what we do as far as the youth is concerned, and trying to just publicly go out there and talk to these schools and educational. We just had a Lenape story symposium at the Cohanzic Nature Reserve in Salem County, and that was a couple weeks ago, and the focus of that was bringing in educators and kind of telling our stories, because our stories aren't being taught the right way. They're being written by people who aren't our people and told by people who aren't our people, rather than coming to us, asking us, what are the true stories? And then when the stories are told in schools, usually it's the story of another nation or one of the Western tribes or Cherokee or Blackfeet, when Lenape have been here and are still here to this day, and our stories aren't being told. Got it. Forgot I gotta take a breath every now and then. So a lot of ways that we try to spread awareness of just our existence is through art. Art is beautiful. Art can be whatever it is that you want it to be, whether it's physical, whether it's real or fake, or fabricated, or an idea, digital, whatever be the case. Performing arts, for example, all of my kids dance at powwows. For those who've gone to powwows, you may have seen them dance. Some of you look very familiar, so you may have seen them dance at some point at some program. They're pretty good dancers. I won't tell them out loud, but they are far better dancers than me and their mother were at their age, but I'm pretty sure that's because we kind of trained them, so we get a little bit of those kudos. I'm sorry, what?
I got most of my moves from videos.
But who pays for your cell phone and internet and all that stuff? I'm just saying, you couldn't have access to that without us, right? So I'm taking a little bit of credit. I think I could get some of the credit. Okay. Again, powwows, of course. We just had our powwow in June. It used to be at the Salem County Fairgrounds. Second weekend in June, it actually just changed to the Cumberland County Fairgrounds the first weekend in June. Hopefully it will stay there, because this year I think it was a really beautiful year. And I do like the location. I didn't want to, because my grandmother, from what I was told by one of our clan mothers before, that the powwow was my grandmother's legacy, especially there at the Salem County Fairgrounds, because she was a lot of the foundation of what the powwow was built on. Which is why when we were I think in 2013, we took over the powwow committee, and it was so hard for us to kind of let it go of that responsibility. We did it for like a decade, and it was a lot of work. And I almost stepped away, and then she told me, hey, this was your grandmother's legacy. I'm like, all right, you got another 5 years out of me, I guess. But now we're done with that. We're trying to do other coordination things. But this is one of my favorite pictures. We actually did this in Newark Museum, and we did a program last year. And you can see they're dressed in their regalia, but they're also utilizing DJ equipment. It's kind of the blend of that contemporary with traditional or cultural arts. And, just to go to emphasize, does there really need to be a line, or could we not blend the two of them? So we're at a time where a lot of music you're hearing, like electric dance music that are indigenous, got a little bit of indigenous flavor to it. And I can put you guys on if you ever want any kind of electric dance music, if that's ever your speed. Traveling exhibits, a lot of the art that we do either were passed down from my grandmom or from their grandmother, or some of my favorite art is art that I encourage our youth to do. So we try to make sure our kids stay together. We put them through workshops. I'm actually going a little too far ahead of myself because we'll see pictures of them. I'll talk about them now, and I'll just point out the pictures. But we'll do workshops that kind of bring back some of those sleeping traditions that haven't really been practiced here much. And so I started taking all of their work, putting them in exhibits, putting them on display. One of my favorites, actually, I'll come back, I swear. There is okay, I'm not going to, there it is. We did a event at Stockton University where at one of our retreats, our kids did a photo workshop where they were given a key word and said, go out there, and actually the story is much longer, actually. Cohanzic Nature Reserve is a 63-acre, anybody hear of that yet, the Cohanzic Nature Reserve? Just a couple of you, okay. So it's a 63-acre space in Salem County, Mannington Township technically, that used to be a church. And my oldest sister-in-law, Thais Gould Jacinto, actually there's some of her books up here, she's a published author if you ever want to look at them. She is the president of NAC, which is Native American Advancement Corporation. And she acquired this property early last year, and has become the stewardess of 100+ acres outside of that. So we were given back land in order for us to have some of these workshops, in order for us to have a place for our community to go to. We're planning on doing a community garden, we're planning on doing very regular classes, employment opportunities, things like that for our kids. But one thing that I remember about my youth is discovering the tribal lands that we were using. That tribal lands that were, that's in Fairton, that 26 acres. I know that the woods like the back of my hand because I used to roam those woods when I was a kid. These lands completely new to me, but for them, it's going to be well known. And so part of what we did when it came to the photo workshop is they were given key words to, what inspires you out there that you can relate to this word. So they all went out, in 63 acres, and they took pictures of whatever it is that they found, discovering this land for the first time, because it literally that same week that we had this retreat, we got the CO for that property. So we were now legally allowed to occupy the space, and we, as parents, as adults, we've never walked these lands, so they got the opportunity to go and do it for us, be for us. And so they took these pictures, and the person who came and did the workshop with them somehow ended up being this big shot curator that it's like one of those undercover boss moments. And she came in and she took them for a little bit and learned our kids and did these pictures, and then she took them back to the university with her and had a team edit them. And she did this huge indigenous exhibit, which was gorgeous. It was 2 floors in their art exhibit gallery, and it featured a lot of really big artists. And that I don't think they knew, because I don't think we told them that their work was going to be featured. So they took a bunch of pictures and they edited them and did black and white. And the pictures that you see here are only, like up in this area here, that's only maybe a tenth of the photos that they took. I've got a copy of all of them, and they actually printed some for us to keep. So now it goes with our traveling exhibit. But I don't know what point I was trying to make with this, but I'm just very, very passionate about it. It'll come back to me once I go back to the slide I went to. So those pictures are also featured in our traveling exhibit. I knew I was onto something there. Physical arts, rawhide. A lot of our traditional work has come from rawhide. Our drums, the drum I was drumming on, even some of the shields up there, they're all rawhide. Gourd work, that's very important, not important, that's very specific to us here because these gourds are grown on these lands. So all of these are natural. We got bone jewelry. A lot of these arts are actually up there. So when I'm done doing my lecture portion and we do like maybe a Q&A, feel free to go up there, touch, ask the kids questions, see if they get stumped. I don't know. They probably won't be able to have the answers because usually I have my partner in crime doing that part. So they're going to have to fill in. That little one might be able to do it though. The corn husk dolls, one of my favorites for all ages, is literally just that corn husk. Kids dressed up. I actually got a couple pictures in here where it's a lot of intergenerational communication, helping each other out with these corn husk dolls. So I've not seen any age group that does not like to make corn husk dolls. Digital arts. I am an architect by day. So I like to bring, one of the reasons why I went to be an architect is to be able to create realer ideas. Most times an idea is just an idea. But if you make a 3D model of it and then you render it and make it look kind of real, because I know that's crappy, but make it look kind of real, then it becomes more of I can see this happening. People actually visualize it and then it slowly becomes something more real. And I would say that's BS, but on the other hand, I've also seen at the museum that's actually being done, where there is actually an image in here, really, really crappy image that I made when I first started my career in 2013, of that museum, which is now being groundbroken and being built. The shell is built, but actually the interior is being fit out and everything. So I think I kind of did my job in that aspect of it. Workshops, we do a lot of workshops for the public. I love working with youth, even youth that aren't my own. We got problems, friends?
I fell.
Oh, you fell? Sorry. Yeah, we do a lot of bone jewelry workshops, trying to teach the public how to do some of the arts that are up there. Most times than not, we like to let them take them home, and sometimes they don't last forever, but at least they have a story to tell. Some people even hang them up. And sometimes they wear them wrong, which I don't mind. I feel like it's theirs, and you created this, and if that's the way you want to wear it, then that's up to you. I actually find a lot of joy in it. Reading my wife here, reading to kids, reading the books that my sister-in-law wrote. Yeah. And then we like to uplift some of our own our artists within our community, whether they support LRP or not. They are a part of our community. We have some fantastic artists, arts that are far beyond what's up there. Leather work, the better bone jewelry and beadwork, many different styles of beadwork, pine needle baskets, pine needle medallions and crowns, it's just gorgeous stuff. Life balance, and this is what I was talking about earlier, is life balance and bridging gaps. We try to make sure that our youth get together as much as possible, because I can remember as a young person being outside of the epicenter, is that a good word, of our of where our community was in Cumberland County. There was not a lot of people in Salem County, Indigenous people in Salem County, that were proud of who they are. And part of that, and now touching on one of the other topics, part of that is because of the American Indian Religious Freedom Act of 1978. That was less than 50 years ago. Prior to that point in time, we weren't allowed to practice our culture. We weren't allowed to speak our language. We weren't allowed to sing our songs. It was illegal. The punishments were bad. And this all dates back to the Trail of Tears, when we were forcibly removed from our homes. Well, most of us were forcibly removed from our homes. Those of us that remain, those of us that are descendants of those that have remained, have had to hide in plain sight or denounce our traditions and convert, whether it's religiously or otherwise. So They erased, for a really, really long time, once the census started becoming a thing, American Indian wasn't even on there on the East Coast. It was white, black, Asian, other. And so they would change whatever. My grandmom she used to be PO'd about this. I used to hear the story all the time of how she would have to find documents that proved that we were indigenous. And the only way that we can do that was military documents. She would take military documents from prior to that census time where it would say this person is a American Indian man, or it's a Lenape man, or a Native man. And if you have that document and then a birth certificate saying that their child is their child, and so on and so forth, well, how's that child or their grandchild white or black or not Native American if this person was recorded as indigenous? You guys see the point I'm trying to make, right? And so that is how we were able to get our recognition back as indigenous people. My grandmom doing that work alongside of our current chief's mother. They were inseparable, and they were amazing at getting all that documentation together. But that was her biggest obstacle, was how do I prove that this person right here is not what the census said early 1900s, but what it was prior to that. So she's got to go and scour the earth for these documents, which she was not always successful. But when she talked about it, she was not a happy somebody. I do remember that. But that was less than 50 years ago. And I can imagine, as a father of four, I would do anything for my children, even lie to them if I had to, So there are a lot of elders that had never talked about who they were, or they would say who they were and then tell their kids to never talk about it, because though most of them have seen their families uprooted, those that have claimed indigenous after the fact, after the Trail of Tears, claiming indigenous and then being forcibly removed from their homes. So even to this day, we've got about 2,600, and within our community, 2,600 people who are enrolled, but maybe 5 times that amount in the area, because most people refuse to enroll, because to them, it's once we were allowed to claim who we are putting our names on a piece of paper and telling the government where we are. That is their perspective, is that, and they were just giving it to them on a silver platter. So if they ever decide we're done with you guys again, they know where to find us, and they're just going to throw us back out. To us, it doesn't make a difference, I think, at least not right now. If you're our family, you're our family. Come to our ceremonies, come to our family gatherings, whatever be the case. But at some point, it might be an issue. The point I'm trying to make, in my childhood in Salem, there were a lot of people who were descendants of those that did not talk about it. I knew who they were, and I would try to say, hey, you're part of our community, or, you're my third cousin. Being a genealogist's grandson, I knew who was related to what and how many times you were related to them and all that. So I'd be like, yeah, you're my third cousin, twice removed, and then nobody knows what the removed is. So I sometimes, even as an adult, I'll explain, well, removed means this, and I will explain all of the family genealogy, and it's all her fault. But I came up in a town where the only 2 indigenous people who practice our culture was myself and my wife. But she was a couple years older than me, so she graduated, and then I was alone. So we try to make a lot of opportunities for our youth to get together, whether it be once a month or twice a month, take trips together, because we understand that sometimes in these isolated areas where you're in a unrelenting high school culture, we thought it was bad when we were younger, it's so much worse now. Trying to get them, remind them that you do have a home with other people outside of just your small town, because to them, school is their life. So they kind of don't see, what's after that. I'm sorry, I hope I'm not boring you guys. I'm kind of riffing a little bit. Unity Conference, I'll try to wrap up a little bit. Unity Conference is United National Indigenous Tribal Youth Conference. And that is something that has all indigenous youth from the entire country plus meet once a year. And I think numbers have grown up to 3,000 people. Right, Liana? How many people were at Unity this year? 3,400. Why does she know? She didn't even go. It was California. You didn't count? Where? San Diego. Yes, that's where it was this year, San Diego. But the year before, the first year that we actually took our youth group was 2023, and it was in Washington, D.C., and it was for the first time in a really long time that it was in the East Coast. And we're very proud that we were about half of the largest Northeastern region population attending Unity Conference ever. And this year is their 50th year, I believe. This one was my absolute favorite trip, and I've been in charge of our youth since right around COVID time. This was a trip that we took to Washington, D.C. early or late February, rather. And we had the pleasure, the honor, and the privilege of going to the Cultural Center owned by the Smithsonian. And they have an archive of Indigenous arts. So we had the privilege of going back there, and they have we call them relatives, and they take care of them. They take care of them well too. They're not just like stored, stashed, archived. They're taken care of. It's a home for these artifacts, but they're dating back from 1600, and there's collected from many different nations, all nations, and there is an aisle for each nation. And when you go in there and you look at the aisle, and you've got shelves on the left and shelves on the right, and if you find your region, you know, I find this is Nanticoke, it's going to be right next to the Lenape, because if you remember from the map, they're right next to the Lenape. Then when we start going up, there's some Iroquois and some Shinnecock, so it was ordered in, you know, geographically. And the beautiful part about going here, not only it being emotional for us to be able to touch this art with our bare hands. We didn't have to wear gloves. We had that privilege of being able to connect with them in that way. It was very emotional for not just us as adults, but even the kids. They felt a lot of energy. I had one told me that she was looking at this painting that she couldn't leave. She would go back, and came back, and it made her cry, and she doesn't know why. So it was very emotional for a lot of us. But not just that, we are in charge of youth, not just from our community, but from others. Us being in Lenape-Hokan, we feel as though that we are responsible for Indigenous youth that are on our land, whether they've been displaced or they had to move. But we've got Nanticoke, we've got Lenape, we've got Rappahannock, we've got Upper Mattaponi, we've got Taino, and we got White Mountain Apache. And we got to go in this place, and it was the first time that I think that it was extremely inclusive to all of our cultures outside of Unity. And so we would go into these aisles, but maybe just 30 feet away. It's not even like we were separated. Our White Mountain Apache, which is based out of the West Coast, she was on the other side, but only 30 feet that way, looking at stuff from her community. And the tour guide, he was one of the people who was part of their sister community from their area, so he was able to tell her stories that I could never provide because I don't know those ways. But I even heard some stories, like they had some rawhide Texas Hold'em cards, and then he told us a story about how outlaws used to be hidden by the Apache people, and they would, in return, the outlaws would teach them how to play Texas Hold'em. So, yeah, and it was really nice to look at those. The cards had to be like 300 years old. And she had the time of her life. Kylene is this one here, and it was overwhelmingly good. And I so badly want to go back because it was just amazing for everybody. We looked at this one already. Workshops, bringing back wampum. It's something that's very important to us as Indigenous people, but none of our community actually practices it. So what we do now is we try to bring a little bit of grant money to our community to share with our sister communities and bring artists that know these ways, that have never forgotten these ways, bring them back to us and have them teach our youth how to do it. And so that's what they do. Corn husks with it. This is one of my favorite pictures. Working with the shells, us just passing down our traditions, but we're also just as goofy as everybody else. That's where that blend of regular life is. Yeah, I see you laughing at my Bowser. These are my boys. We do Halloween costumes that are matching every year. So we did last year with Super Mario Brothers. And they tried to size me up, but this boy, my oldest son, he's bigger than me by far. So he could probably take me out if he really wanted to. Annual retreats, we just, like I said, a lot of things we do that try to keep our kids very active within our community, but also reminding them that it's okay to have your feet planted in both worlds. I won't get into any of this because this is all boring. This is all boring. I really think it's all The rest of this is just pictures of us trying to revitalize our culture, trying to bring it to a modern time, while also remembering our traditions and our roots. This was our first, what was this? Well, except for this is actually the moment where they first discovered that their work was in the exhibit. So I had to capture the moment. You could see, I had other angles, but I wish I took a video because they were like pointing at it and very excited. Their faces all lit up. But, you know, this was us at the Cultural Center touching Nanticoke baskets from the 1800s. And then some of these pictures were from our first New Jersey State Indigenous Youth Conference, which I was one of the co-coordinators of it. Unfortunately, due to many reasons, we lost a lot of funding. A lot of places lost funding, right? A lot of art grants and things like that have lost funding, so we didn't have the funding to do a second year. But we are hoping that we get to do it again in the future. This is one of my the thing I was talking about earlier, the rendering that I did that is now becoming the museum. Yeah, don't take a picture of that. This is a disgusting image. And that's it. That's it as far as, yeah, that. I apologize for talking so much. I also promise I am much better at this when I have my partner in crime with me because we bounce off of each other, but we would go longer. With that being said, it is 8:20. Your time's wrong. It's 4:44 apparently. I'm over here looking at this thinking maybe it's just hours off and that it's 8:45 already, thinking that I'm taking up all of your time. It's only 8:20. Okay, with that being said, I did bring some art, some different kind of arts. You can go over there and look at them, take pictures, touch them, pick them up, whatever be the case. And in the meantime, if you have questions, ask one of them. They probably won't have the answer, but I want to see if they do. They got to earn their dinner. I don't know. With that being said, I am willing to take any questions while I'm up here about anything. It could be about this. It could be about our community. It does not have to be anything, you know, that I talked about.
What can you guys do with like repatriation of artifacts, if that's something you're involved in?
Currently, nothing. Part of that is because we are one of 3 state recognized tribes, but we're also one of maybe 9 or 10 Lenape tribes. So it's like if it's a Lenape artifact, which one of those tribes does it go to? We're state recognized, but there's also federally recognized Lenape tribes out there. So it's like, it becomes hard. A lot of we've been offered certain things, like a wampum belt, and artifacts that have, like I've been given artifacts, but also nowhere to place them properly. Some things deserve to be buried, so we will do that. But as far as something that's meant to be displayed or something that was taken from our community and then put back or recently given back, we don't have the proper place to put them. So currently what's been happening with a lot of these artifacts is they go to the cultural center I was just talking about. And if there is a bridge that can be crossed as far as if we needed to, or if we had the proper, the proof that, you know, it is from our community, which they have a lot of that, and we had a museum that can house it, we could go to the cultural center and say, we would like to have these back within our museums, and they would abide by that. A lot of hoops you got to jump through for something like that, but it is possible, and people are doing it more and more, which we do appreciate.
Was the language lost, or how much of it remains?
A lot of it was lost. We don't have a lot of fluent speakers in Lenapehoking. However, the descendants of those that were forced out of these lands, they have fluent speakers in both the Oklahoma communities, I think in the Wisconsin communities as well, but definitely in the Canada communities. We were the land keepers. Obviously, we could keep the land, but we couldn't keep the culture. The culture that we did keep, the language that we did keep, were maintained in our songs, the songs that we sing in our drums. We were taught that you cannot sing a song if you don't know what it means. You cannot teach a song if you don't know what it means, and that is still how we practice today. There's a lot of discipline that goes into being around that drum, right? So some of the songs that were passed down illegally, of course, continue to be taught in that way. So there are songs older than any of the elders that are alive today that have been passed on, and the only reason why we know what they mean is because of that discipline. With that being said, we also have our sister communities that are helping us bring back our language. And the Nanticoke side of it, they have a lot more of their language figured out. Us, not so much, because we had 3 different dialects, and some of the words are very similar, others are kind of It is a beautiful language. It's very complex too. It's almost like, for example, Luens means I am called. So basically my name is, or name, Luens. And depending on who you're addressing, whether it's myself, I would say de Luens, with a prefix at the beginning. Or if I were going to say you are called, what are we, the Gloucester County Nature thing. So it'd be Luensik at the end is that eek. So like earlier when I was yelling at them, I'm telling them the only 2 words that they, from birth, that they learned was sit down and be quiet. And so that one is Chikwesi. Chikwesi means be quiet. But if I'm talking to all of them, it's Chikwesik. I'm eating that eek at the end. So we know the structure of the words, and we're trying to bring a lot of it back. They're getting it a lot better than we are. But we use our language as much as we can, as you know, like they introduce themselves in our language versus like their names at least. So when we're at home and we're yelling at them, we're usually not using their American names. We're using their traditional names in our language. So it's slowly coming back. We did lose a lot of it for very obvious reasons. We weren't allowed to speak it, but we're getting there.
Could you say your children's names just to hear the sound of them in the language?
Should I make them do it?
Yes.
Chatan, tell them your name. Say it again. Say it loud, say it proud, but say it so nice slowly. Yes.
My native name is Chetan Manetu Hatapi.
Which means?
Strong spirit hummingbird.
Strong spirited, but close enough. This one I just called Chatan, once you get some in there.
My native name is Lisa Chulanstet, and that stands for Little Yellow Bird.
The little yellow bird.
Yellow.
Okay, Lisa.
My name is Galaxy Tana, and it means
Slower
laugh.
and
Slow. Yeah, right?
To me, I was out there and you said,
One more time.
my name is Galaxy
That's not
Tana,
loud, and
and
that's
it
not
means laugh as
loud.
well.
Laughing.
Gelik
Yep.
Sitama.
They just call us Kekalik.
Thank you.
Kentet Tame, and my wife, Kanata AP, Chulinstet, Braden, I'll be getting there. Sapele Menetu. What do you got on your shirt? Sapele Menetu, which means bright spirit, dancing wolf, and my wife is watching sparrow. And more on the language thing, not to bore you more, but there's also a lot of words that can't be translated, that we don't have words for, sparrow being one of them. And so what we do when it comes to something like that is that it'd be descriptive. It'd be like a descriptive word. So a sparrow is a small bird with a sharp tail or something like that, you know what I mean? So her name, even though in English it's watching sparrow, she was named in English, where it's Kanata AP, which is watching, but Chulinstet is more of a small bird, so it's really translate roughly to watching small bird. Oh, friend, you're in my space.
Sorry, I'm just looking at
Sorry. Chatan, y'all can go back outside now. Bye. Okay, sorry. I'll hit you first and then you.
We had a Native American in our club who has sadly passed, but we saved bird feathers for her because she had a permit to keep them. You know, no one's allowed to have bird feathers. Do you have such a permit, and would you like us to be saving feathers for you too, or you don't need to?
Is this
use them?
recorded? No, I'm kidding. We don't have, well, do we have permits that state recognized? I don't know if the rules have changed. Before, 20 years ago, state recognized tribes weren't allowed to have certain feathers. For example, eagle feathers. However, we still do. And part of that is, it is a part of our culture. It's really important to us. Those feathers are sacred, especially eagle feathers or red-tailed hawks, things like that. And we do accept them. We do keep them, just like prior to 1978, us still practicing our cultures, even though it's technically illegal, it doesn't make it, wrong. But we also, in cases where some organizations like to donate feathers, we just say, send them to our relatives in Oklahoma or Wisconsin or Canada, because they are federally recognized and thus they're allowed to have those feathers legally. But I can't think of one person within our community who does not have an eagle feather, because that's what that's one of the highest honors, is being gifted those. And even all my kids, even they have plumes and whole wings even. So yeah. You had a question?
Yeah, where can we find Indigenous EDM?
All right, look up A Tribe Called Red.
A tribe called what?
Red, R-E-D, which they renamed to, is that my shut up alarm? No. At 4:54? They recently renamed to the Halluça Nation, so like hallucination, but hallucination. And yeah, get crunk, because it's some good stuff. A lot of them have really good messages to them too. A lot of them will kind of, I actually have quoted one, things such as, "We are not a conquered people." The virus took on many shapes, the deer, the antelope, the elk, the people. That's true. That's facts. So there's a lot of messages within the songs if you listen deep enough, which is art in itself, I think. So what else? I'm tired of hearing me talk. I'm surprised how you're not.
So if I'm a history teacher, and we're actually talking about the Lenape right now in class. If I were, what would be the proper way or word to describe your language? So would I say it's branch of Algonquin, or how would I describe it?
How do I answer this one without being political? So, Algonquin is Lenape people, from our teachings at least, outdate Algonquin. But Algonquin was discovered by settlers, and that's kind of what they wrote on. Very similar to how when somebody says, "I'm Native American" or "I'm Indigenous," chances are, if they aren't part of the local communities, they're saying Cherokee or Blackfeet or Ojibwe or Navajo, a lot of these names that are big names. And part of that is rooted in this idea that to people who weren't our people, we were just seen as one big group. Oh, that's a Native American right there, Cherokee, name it Cherokee. And so the same goes with Algonquin in a way, is that was the word that they learned and bulked it all in as that language. But Lenape, we're considered the grandfather tribes, because a lot of the tribes in this area have come from Lenape people. However, yes, it is still considered an Algonquin language with multiple dialects, Unami, Munsee, and Unalachko. And one of them have died out, but I can't remember which one. I believe it's Unalachko. So those are the three dialects, and of course there are, very similar to our clans, there are sub-clans and sub-dialects that have no name. Or at least we don't remember the name, because it's been so far taken from us. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I didn't really know how to explain it to my students without making Native people sound monolithic in this area.
Yeah, it's considered Algonquin, because it's almost like the word no for English and the word no for Spanish. There are a lot of very common words or common prefixes that, if you listen hard enough, you can kind of understand them. If you knew one dialect and you listen to them, you can understand. But I guess you can consider it still Algonquin, You had a question?
I was going to ask you, would you consider coming back here to present another program, hopefully with your wife and
Hopefully.
your little one?
If I were going to say no, you put me on the spot, you know? No, I like doing stuff in Gloucester County. I would more than willing. I love obviously, I hope that you guys feel that I am passionate about stuff and I love it. I will go down a rabbit hole and continue talking for hours and hours and hours. But I do have to wake up at 5:20 tomorrow to go to work. So I won't do that. But we love this stuff. We love, especially here, Gloucester County, Cumberland County, Salem County. These are the 3 counties that we try to do our work in the most as a tribe. Us as Lenape Hook and Reestablishment Project, we don't represent the tribe in an official capacity, but we are made up of 89, actually no, all of us are part of Nature Club and Lenape. So we do branch out more now, Ocean County. We even find ourselves in North Jersey sometimes. Something like this is backyard. You know, any chance I get to do something in Gloucester County, I'm gonna do something in Gloucester County. So if you guys want me back for whatever ungodly reason, I'll come back. So. Is that a good ending note? I think that's a good ending note.